Imagine being born with nothing. No rights, no freedom, not even your own body. Epictetus was a slave, not metaphorically, literally. Born into servitude in the Roman Empire, beaten, owned, silenced. His leg was twisted and broken. Some say by his master, he was crippled for life. And yet, he would become one of the greatest minds in human history. A man with no power taught kings how to rule themselves. A man in chains taught the world what it means to be free. We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. What if pain isn't your enemy? What if suffering is the only real test of strength? In a world addicted to comfort, what happens when you choose discomfort voluntarily? This isn't a story about staying positive. This isn't a motivational tale to make you feel better. This is a war manual for the mind, a path to becoming unbreakable. And it all starts in the fire we try so hard to avoid. Welcome to the world of Epictetus. Welcome to the philosophy of suffering. We live in a world obsessed with control, a world that promises us everything if we just do it right. If we just choose the right path, think the right thoughts, work hard enough, plan with precision. But what if control is an illusion? What if the only thing that's truly ours is our response? Epictetus learned something early in life that few ever grasp. You cannot control what happens to you. You cannot control fate. You cannot control your health. You cannot control the status you are born into. And in a world where control is the highest currency, this realization is the most dangerous one of all. He was a slave, born into chains, beaten and crippled for life. But in his mind, he was free. In that moment when his leg was broken, Epictetus did not succumb to despair. He did not scream. He did not rail against the injustice of the world. He did not give in to victimhood. He chose to own his response. In contrast, today we find ourselves drowning in a sea of external pressures. We live in a society obsessed with victimhood, with blaming, complaining, and constantly seeking someone or something to blame for our misery. The government, the system, society, someone else. We are taught to believe we have no control. We are fed a narrative that fate determines our path, and that we are powerless to change it. But the Stoics knew this was a lie. Epictetus taught that what happens to us is not the problem. The problem lies in how we choose to respond. And it is this choice, this mastery over our own perception, that gives us true power. We live in a time of constant chaos, constant noise, and every time we react with frustration, anxiety, or rage, we give away our power. But the Stoic mind, it refuses to surrender. No matter the external storm, the Stoic understands you can't control the wind, but you can control your sail. Picture this: a ship caught in the heart of a violent storm. The crew is frantic, tossing themselves about in fear. The captain, calm, controlled, aware that no matter how violent the storm, he can navigate through it. He cannot stop the storm, but he can choose his course. That is true power. What if we lived our lives like Epictetus? What if we stopped trying to control every external force and instead focused on what is truly ours? Our thoughts, our choices, our response. The Stoic asks, not what can I control, but rather, what can I own in my life? We blame our relationships for failure. We blame our mistakes on the economy. We blame everything, but in doing so, we relinquish our power. Epictetus understood the secret. The strongest mind doesn't waste time on the things it cannot change. Instead, it focuses all its energy on what it can control. Its response: control nothing, command everything. Your power lies within your response. Pain, the one constant in every human experience. We all feel it, in our bodies, in our minds, in our hearts. But what if this pain, this suffering, was not our enemy? What if it could be the very thing that transforms us into something unstoppable? The Stoics believed that suffering is not something to run from, but something to embrace. Epictetus, more than anyone, understood that the mind must be trained not to avoid pain, but to dominate it. Imagine the mind as a battlefield. In this arena, every emotion, every painful experience is like a soldier, each representing the struggles we face in life. What does a soldier do on the battlefield? He trains. He prepares himself for conflict, not to escape it, but to engage with it head-on, to become stronger with each blow. This is how Epictetus trained his mind, not by avoiding the pain of his body, but by confronting it, shaping it, and using it as fuel to forge discipline. Pain, in the Stoic sense, is material, a substance to be shaped and crafted, like metal in a forge. It's not a force that breaks us, it's a force that can make us. Epictetus didn't view suffering as a threat. He saw it as a tool, a weapon in the arsenal of the mind. Just as a blacksmith hammers and bends metal to create something stronger, Epictetus believed that we must let pain hammer our minds into strength. In today's world, we avoid discomfort at all costs. We numb ourselves with distractions, with endless scrolling, food, entertainment, and social validation. Our modern world is one of endless comfort, but it is in this comfort that we become weak. And the worst part, we're often unaware of it. Epictetus warned against this, the danger of living a life insulated from hardship. He knew that too much comfort leads to a lack of resilience. If you never test your strength, you'll never know how strong you really are. Look at modern behavior, addiction to pleasure, escape from discomfort, the ever-growing culture of victimhood. We medicate our pain, distract ourselves from it, as if ignoring it will make it go away. But the real question we should be asking is what happens when we stop avoiding discomfort. Science now tells us that pain is not just a feeling, it's a message from the brain, telling us something about the world around us, and how we respond to that pain shapes us. Neuroscientists call this the meaning-making process, the ability of the brain to interpret painful experiences in a way that either weakens or strengthens us. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience. They knew that our perception of pain, how we frame it in our minds, is what determines whether it will break us or build us. This is where voluntary suffering comes into play. Epictetus wasn't suggesting we seek out suffering for its own sake, but he encouraged us to train ourselves in enduring it, deliberately, to expose ourselves to discomfort in controlled doses, so that we become stronger, more resilient. Voluntary suffering is the path of the Stoic warrior. It's waking up early, fasting, choosing physical exertion when you'd rather stay comfortable. It's putting yourself in situations where you could fail, but knowing that failure too is part of the training. This process makes you anti-fragile, a term coined by Nassim Taleb, meaning you don't just survive adversity, you thrive because of it. The more discomfort you endure, the more capable you become at navigating life's inevitable challenges. What if comfort is the true prison? What if by seeking to avoid pain, we are in fact creating our own chains? Epictetus didn't just teach us to endure suffering, he taught us to embrace it, to use it as a ladder to climb higher, to build a mind that is unbreakable. The battlefield of the mind is where the war is won, and in that arena, pain isn't a monster to fear, it's a forge, shaping you into the strongest version of yourself. We live in a world of endless distractions, a world where comfort is the ultimate pursuit, where ease and pleasure are sold to us as rights, and where suffering is something to be feared, avoided at all costs. But what if this is the real trap? Thousands of years ago, the Roman Empire kept its masses entertained with bread and circuses, distractions designed to numb them into submission. The empire knew that if you could keep the people distracted with superficial pleasures, they would never rise up. They would never ask the hard questions. They would never question their own weakness. Fast forward to today, the same mechanisms exist. Only now, they come in the form of likes, shares, endless scrolls, and dopamine hits. Social media, marketing, and modern culture have made comfort the highest goal. We are conditioned to fear suffering, to flee from discomfort, to numb ourselves to the challenges that shape us. And yet, In our pursuit of pleasure, we've become slaves. We've built a culture that caters to our laziness, to our emotional fragility, and we've been taught for our entire lives that we should be afraid of suffering, afraid of feeling discomfort, afraid of the pain that comes with growth. But why? Why are we so afraid? Epictetus, living as a slave with a broken body, taught us a radical truth. True freedom comes from within. It does not come from the things we possess. It does not come from the comfort we chase. It comes from mastering the one thing we can control, ourselves, from embracing suffering, not avoiding it. But the modern world, well, it teaches a different kind of freedom, one that is bought, not earned, a freedom that comes from consumption, not self-mastery. This is the modern-day prisoner of luxury. We have everything we could ever want: money, fame, possessions, status, yet we are the most fragile people to ever walk this earth. A single insult can send us spiraling. A small setback can ruin our sense of self-worth. We are coddled in comfort, yet we are emotionally fragile. Why? Because we've been taught that pain is something to avoid at all costs. We've been raised in a world where the smallest inconvenience is a tragedy, where we blame everything and everyone except ourselves, where we seek safety in echo chambers, avoiding discomfort in any form. But in doing so, we lose our strength, safe spaces, outrage culture. These are the modern-day bread and circuses. They numb us into submission, offering us temporary relief from discomfort, but at the cost of our resilience. They teach us to reject pain, to seek comfort, to cower from confrontation, from the very challenges that could make us stronger. And we are left weak, incapable of standing up to life's inevitable struggles. But what happens when we refuse to avoid the discomfort? What happens when we choose to embrace it? What happens when we take responsibility for our own strength, our own reactions, instead of letting society decide for us? We step into a new kind of freedom, one that no luxury can buy. The world tried to break Epictetus. His body was broken, his world was cruel, but his mind was free. Today, the world tries to break us. It tempts us with comfort. It offers us convenience. But the Stoic asks, what is comfort without strength? What happens when a generation is trained to avoid all pain? They are trained to be weak, and in their weakness, they are slaves. We've explored the pain, the suffering, the fragility of the modern mind. But now, it's time for a shift, a change in perspective. It's time to transform pain into power. Epictetus was not just a philosopher. He was a warrior who embraced the battlefield of the mind and conquered it. Today, we need a new kind of human, a human who has faced suffering, who has stared it down and said, I choose you. A human who has no fear, because they have already walked through the fire and emerged stronger. We need the philosopher warrior, the Stoic, the one who does not recoil from pain, but welcomes it, the one who is unmoved by the distractions of the world, unmoved by flattery, insult, praise, or shame, the one who has already faced their demons and come out unshakable. Because when you embrace suffering, you become dangerous. You become a force that no system of control can contain. You become a mind that is not bound by fear or comfort, and that terrifies those who depend on weakness and compliance. Think of the whistleblowers who expose the truth at great personal cost. Think of the monks who live in solitude, enduring physical and emotional discomfort, but rising above it with peace and clarity. Think of trauma survivors who have faced unimaginable pain and yet, somehow, emerge not broken, but reborn. These are the modern warriors, the ones who, like Epictetus, have embraced suffering and turned it into a strength that defies the system. These are the minds that cannot be controlled because they do not fear the world. They fear nothing because they have already embraced the hardest thing of all, their own suffering. But how do we train for this? How do we build the unshakable strength of the philosopher warrior? It begins with a simple truth: expect pain. Life is not a straight line. It is a series of storms, challenges, and struggles. And the Stoic mind prepares for these storms. It doesn't fear them. Welcome discomfort. Don't avoid the hard truths, the challenges, the things that make you uncomfortable. Whether it's physical pain, a tough workout, a fast, a cold shower, or mental discomfort, the rejection, the failures, the insults, embrace it all. For in each moment of discomfort, there lies an opportunity to grow stronger, clearer, more powerful. Master your thoughts. This is the battleground of the mind. In every moment of pain, your mind will offer a choice: to react in fear, to crumble in weakness, or to stand tall, unaffected, clear. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The true warrior does not let emotions control them. They control their emotions. They choose their response, and in doing so, they master themselves. Live by principle, not emotion. This is the core of the Stoic warrior's power. Principles guide the warrior, not the fleeting waves of emotion that crash with every challenge. The modern world is built on emotional triggers: instant gratification, outrage, social validation. But the Stoic stands firm, guided by timeless principles of integrity, resilience, and inner strength. Principles cannot be manipulated. Emotions can. So I ask you, are you ready to choose this path? Are you ready to train your mind, to embrace suffering, to stand unshaken in the face of adversity? Imagine a life where nothing can truly harm you, because you've already faced the hardest thing of all: your own pain. Imagine being so unbreakable that the world's insults, failures, and chaos have no power over you. That is the power of the philosopher warrior. That is the legacy of Epictetus. The storm rages, the winds howl, the clouds darken, and the earth trembles beneath the weight of fate. But through it all, one figure walks, unbroken, unbowed. His chains drag behind him, but his spirit is free. This is the beauty of the unbreakable mind. Epictetus once said, "No one can enslave a free mind. The shackles may bind the body, the world may rage and try to crush the spirit, but the Stoic mind is untouchable. It does not submit, it does not bend. It is free, because it has learned to embrace the very thing the world fears most: suffering." We've seen how pain can shape us, how it can forge us into something stronger, clearer, more powerful than we ever thought possible. And now, we must see it for what it truly is: alchemy. Suffering is not a tragedy. It is the furnace in which freedom is forged, the fire that burns away the impurities, leaving only the purest form of strength. Every moment of pain is a chance to burn away weakness. Every hardship, every challenge, is an opportunity to become something greater than we were before. You are not weak because you feel pain. You are strong because you choose how to respond. You are strong because you have embraced it, transformed it, and turned it into your most powerful weapon. And now, we ask, if suffering is inevitable, why not master it? If life's challenges are unavoidable, why not become the one who thrives because of them? The unbreakable mind does not fear the storm. It walks straight into it, eyes clear, heart steady, knowing that with each step, it becomes more powerful. This is the Stoic way. This is the way of Epictetus, and it is the path that leads to true freedom.